Wow. I guess it always has to be the opposite gender.
Hands down, females.
Female is most complicated. They have more problems, more complex. It's more to a female than a male, you know what I'm saying? So I believe they're more complicated. They crazy, man. Like females, boy, like, they something.
I feel as though the female gender is the most complicated.
Well, as a female, I would probably have to go with the females.
I went personal and decided, what would my pastor say?
The gender that seems to be the most complicated would have to be the females.
Personally, based on my observations through the years, I think it depends on the age. I think through their teen years and even preteen years, girls are much more complex because I think they overanalyze things.
I feel like guys are more complicated than females.
As you can see, a lot of people seem to say that the female gender is more complicated. Some say that the male gender is more complicated. But what honestly makes either one of these genders more complicated than the other? Let's take a look and find out. Let's start off with the female gender.
It always has to be the opposite gender. There was a book, I think somebody wrote one time and said, so women are from Venus, men are from Mars. So, we're just different in kind of the way we think a lot. A man always is trying to figure out, what does a woman like or whatever, and a woman's always trying to, figure out what the man, so there's always going to be those kind of differences.
The gender that seems to be the most complicated would have to be the females. Well, because the females tend to be more emotional, which most females are emotional, which makes things a little complicated because they oftentimes contain or can't contain their emotions when talking about problems.
As a female, I would probably have to go with the females. And that's just because there's a lot more that's required with females as opposed to males. Being that I have children, I can kind of compare that. I have a son, but he doesn't require as much. He's pretty much self-sufficient. And with the girls may require a little bit more.
Girls are much more complex because I think they overanalyze things and act so much more on their emotions and what people think about them and so forth. Girls overthink things. I don't think guys think enough, if that makes sense. And as they go along, it kind of evens out. As you get older, a lot of those traits kind of even out. But I still think that females are more emotional as a rule, and guys are more reactionary as a rule.
The female gender is the most complicated because we are more emotional than guys especially, so we take a lot of things to heart, more so than guys do, and sometimes we can be a little more dramatic. So yeah, females.
Now let's take it to the point of view on men.
I feel like guys are more complicated than females because even though like females get like a really bad rep for like being complicated and being over emotional, I think guys are more complicated because they're less likely to tell you how they feel, and they're less likely to actually legitimately come out with their feelings, and that kind of complicates situations. So in turn, that makes guys more complicated than females.
Man, because we don't like to express how we feel about certain situations, because most men, they take it as a sign of weakness when they express themselves.
In my own personal opinion, I truly believe that men are more complicated than women. As for women, they like to tell and share their emotions, but men don't like to express themselves or wear their heart on their sleeves. Men can also become very difficult when they're not in charge. If they're not in control, everything is out of control. Men can be very, very complicated when it comes down to a bad situation. Men and women can be in all types of relationships. So, many of them may have many different views on complications and people. You have your African American couple and you have your Caucasian couple. Maybe the African American male wants to be with the Caucasian female, or the African American female wants to be with a Caucasian male. Heck, you might even have a set of twins and never know. Well, while we're on the topic of relationships, let's see how some people feel about their relationships. Family relationships. So I asked the question, who's the most complicated person in your family? And this is their responses.
God, I don't even know. Probably me. I would say it's probably me.
My wife, no question. We've been together now right at 30 years and I still don't have her figured out. So yeah, my wife.
My grandmother. Because she's stubborn, she don't like to do certain things with people. And the way my mother tells it, how she was treated as a young person, she says it as her mother like really never cared about what she did.
It had to be my mom. Why my mom? Well, my mom tends to she would have to be the most complicated. I don't even know how to say it right. I love her to death. My mom had a stroke a few years ago, and so she tends to want to do stuff on her own, and she tends to overdo it, and she'll put herself in more harm than she does good. So she can be complicated because she wants to be self-sufficient, and so it's just kind of hard to deal with her at times.
My brother. One day he's happy, the next day he's mad at the world, the next day he's happy again. He's just up and down with his emotions. Similar to a girl's emotions, but sometimes guys can be just as bad as women.
Complicated person in the family. That can be a difficult one. I would probably have to say my mom, and that's not so much as a bad thing, but just having a better relationship with her now is complicated because having grown up with her and lived with her, I had to see a side of her, that as children you don't like to see. But now that I'm grown and I have children and I'm married, she's complicated in the fact that there are things about her that I admire now that I didn't see growing up, and I'm seeing that she has a lot of wisdom. She has a lot of strengths that I didn't know and see as a youth. So I think that's why she's complicated now, because I'm seeing a different side of her.
Now, it seems like some of our males in my family kind of having more kind of issues than anything right now, So I'd probably say I'd probably have to go with the guys right now.
To sum up the majority of my project, I asked my participants if they could describe the gender that they chose in one word, what would it be?
I think females are more complicated. But that doesn't mean that guys aren't complicated. So if you want to have a word about females, I would say multi-layered.
Mysterious.
Pathetic.
Crazy.
Many people see each other very differently, but I see us all as the same. Opposites do attract, That's why we all love each other, male or female. Women can do things men do, and vice versa. But we all make our lives better one way or the other.